Before having my accident in 1988, played professional football and was seen as an elite athlete. So then having my accident, getting hit by a truck, resulting in breaking my back and damaging my spinal cord, and then to be in a wheelchair and to face life in a wheelchair, it was a very difficult pill to swallow. On that fateful day back on the 27th of June in '88, the view was to ride down the mountain, ride to a friend, catch up, have some lunch and then ride back again. It was on my way back and don't have much of a recollection from that point. Understand from the police reports that I was hit from behind by an 8-ton truck and rendered a paraplegic. It's quite daunting actually. My first recollection is I didn't want to die because I knew something serious had taken place. And for me to still have the use of my legs, knowing they were attached to my body, my first recollection was that they had been amputated and I pushed the buzzer, the nurse came in, she lifted one of the legs up and then the other leg, and for me to still see my legs were attached to my body gave me a sense of hope before I passed out again, thinking that life would get back to normal. What I did realise over a period of time and being involved in coming off morphine and pethidine, whatever it was, as a pain relief, then I realised things had gone drastically wrong and life had instantly changed. Moved out of intensive care and then moved into a general ward. The other 3 guys had broken their necks, so they were all quadriplegics at quite a high level and required assistance for everything. Where for me, I was quite fortunate that I still had use of my upper body and I could dress myself, I could get into my wheelchair by myself and I could get on with life. So I guess looking back at that time, I've never had the audacity to feel sorry for myself, given I left the room with 3 guys who would give anything to be able to do what I'm able to do. For me as a little kid, being involved in a primary school, I remember daydreaming, looking out of the window, dreaming about being a professional athlete. And at that stage it was to be a professional football player. Looking back at my accident and 20 years ago now, the dream and the drive and the passion, fire was still within to do the same. So I never thought that it would be in the way of a wheelchair athlete, but the drive was still there and the dream was still there. After my accident and spending time with some very dear friends, one of them being John Young, the guy I played football with prior to my accident, come to visit me in hospital to give me updates on how the football team was going. Got out of hospital and we started doing weights together. Because I was training for the Maclean triathlon at the time of my accident, I said to John, hey, how about you give me a hand to do the race on the day before, just to make sure that I could do it, albeit with a hand cycle opposed to a conventional bike, or my wheelchair opposed to running the course. And that way, that would be the little mountain to climb and then move on with life. And he said, no, you're going to do it with me and everybody else. And I guess that's what started me into triathlon. After doing that particular triathlon, I saw the Gatorade Ironman in 1994. There was a wheelchair athlete having a go. He did not complete the course. There was a red light going off inside of my head saying that I would like to be the first to do that, to compete against him and to go to Hawaii to make all the cut-off times. So the bar had been risen quite dramatically.
Swim, bike, run. A simple formula, a simple creed. Finish, whatever it takes. It's shortly after dawn in the small fishing village of Kailuakona on the big island of Hawaii. Amazingly not too far off the pace the professionals are setting, John Maclean pulls himself through the water. In order to be the first wheelchair athlete to complete the Gatorade Ironman, the 29-year-old from Sydney, Australia will have to cover 141 miles using only his arms.
The thing that I found was that the people generally wanted to know whether a wheelchair athlete could complete the course. So I was certainly embraced into the family initially, which was very exciting. A lot of the athletes would come up and wish me all the best prior to participation. It was great to know that you're a part of this inclusive family. But for me, I needed to make all the cut-off times to be a part of that family. So looking back to that time, my race unfolded doing a 1:07 swim, moved into transition with my friends obviously supporting that. I was into my day chair, got changed, onto the hand cycle and started the 180-kilometre bike ride. Very encouraging when the other competitors would go by and yell out, come on Wheeler, you can do it, and come on buddy, and you're doing it, and all these positive vibes. So it was great to be a part of that experience. On my way back into town, with about maybe 10 kilometres to go of the 180, feeling very fatigued, noticed that the sun was starting to set, so I'd missed the cutoff. The cutoff is 5:30 in the afternoon. I was met in the transition by the race president, and he said that you've been disqualified, but we would ask for you to go on to complete the course. So I got into the race in wheelchair and finished in 14 hours and 52 minutes. And certainly the best part about that race, without a doubt, is to cross that finishing line and to experience that endorphin rush and I guess the adrenaline that pumps through the body, and everyone gets there to get to that finishing line. So it was a great experience in 1995. and got to the start line in 97. The good news, they allowed 3 wheelchair athletes to participate in 97. I did the swim in 1 hour, then got into my hand cycle, made the cut-off with an hour and a half to spare. Got into my racing wheelchair, so it was great to have finally made all the cut-offs in the bike and finished in 12 hours and 21 minutes to beat a third of the field. So 1997 was so special given that I'd finally received the finishers medal, made all the cut-off times, and it was so special, so rewarding after 3 attempts to finally get across the line. The reason I wanted to swim the English Channel back in 1998 was I found out that no wheelchair athlete had swum the English Channel. I also found out that no athlete, wheelchair or otherwise, had done the Hawaiian Ironman and swum the English Channel. So in terms of setting a precedence and opening the doors and to be seen as equal, that was a huge challenge for me to embark on. After my first couple of hours, it was starting to get rough. The captain of the boat said, "You need to get out." Just had a weather forecast in, it's going to get rough. And I thought, well, I paid my £1,200, I've got my support crew here, I've got a documentary crew, so I want to make sure that I get across the other side. So 6 hours went to 9, it got terribly rough, blew up to a force 6, force 7, a force 10 is a hurricane to give you an indication of those conditions. And after 9 hours of swimming, the captain of the boat told me to get out, and I said, "I can see France." He said, "You haven't got anywhere for the last 3 hours. So I realised that I wish he would have told me that 3 hours ago, but was back in the boat and headed back to England, and quite a depressed state you can imagine for the documentary crew and my support swimmers and the general team as well as the coach. So I got a chance to meet with the captain the next day to plead for another opportunity if he could fit me into the schedule. Fortunate for me and the team, were able to have a second attempt 13 days later, and the conditions were kinder. I was able to get across in 12 hours and 55 minutes, and to finally land on a beach in Maclean in France, opposed to rocks where some swimmers land. I was quite fortunate. And it was a great experience. It was great because, you know, setting these huge challenges and believing in myself has allowed me to, you know, surround myself with positive people and to take on the challenges that present us in life. Yeah, looking back in Sydney at the Games, fortunate enough to be a part of both the Olympic and the Paralympic Games, demonstration event in the men's 1500 wheelchair race.
John's from Sydney, ex-triathlete, and John is the only man to have done the Hawaiian Ironman and swim the English Channel. What a man. They're away, 3 3/4 laps, and again the start seems to be so important, and Maclean is pushing forward on the inside. Now John Maclean's in 3rd place at the moment. Still John Maclean pushing and pushing and pushing and holding his place. Could we see a grandstand finish there, the Australians?
The race didn't unfold the way that I would ideally like to unfold it.
He snuck away. Oh, John Maclean might have fallen, I think.
With about 350 metres to go, got caught up with one of the guys from South Africa. We collided. I come unstuck and come out of my wheelchair. Shortly after the Paralympic Games, I really, looking back at that time, didn't overcome the original crash at the Olympic Games in front of 115,000 people, and to receive many phone calls and messages to, you know, the people had seen that experience, and I felt quite flat and certainly wasn't, you know, on fire, so to speak. So the Paralympic Games came and went with, certainly wasn't a highlight. I received a phone call in February of 2007 from a chap who said, "Have you heard of adaptive rowing?" I said, "No." He said, "It's been included for the Beijing Paralympics. Are you interested?" And I thought I needed a new challenge to work towards. I thought I'd go down and introduce myself to the coach. I was then introduced to a girl, Catherine Ross. And they then said, "We're going to put you guys together at a selection regatta in Penrith. If you produce a good enough time, you'll make the Australian team to go to the World Championships." We did produce a good enough time. We were a part of the Australian team. Great in that term of inclusion. We were part of the Australian rowing team.
The 2007 World Rowing Championships, which have the added significance of being the primary qualifying opportunity for next year's Olympic and Paralympic regattas in Beijing. Brazil holding Australia on the far side as we come to the line, and that is gold medal number 2 for Brazil. Australia silver, and that race just proves how the standards have risen and how the adaptive races are moving forward.
So we go into the Games less than 5 months now, you know, with a professional attitude. We certainly view that we are good enough. We believe in ourselves. We can see this gold medal, so it's putting the time and effort into making sure that everything's in place and going over there, being a part of it, and fitting that last piece of the jigsaw puzzle into place. So for me, again, the icing on the cake.